JimmyCast.
I forgot what I am. Hey everybody, I'm Jimmy DeGrode. Today we're here talking with Doug Meadows. JimmyCast. JimmyCast is real talk for jewelers, and I mean real talk. We are talking about issues and answering a lot of questions that people have sent and things that we've trained on during the years at jewelrystoretraining.com. It's brought to you by jewelrystoretraining.com and the wonderful folks at In-Store Magazine. JewelryStoreTraining.com is a 10-minute sound chunk type of training session once a week via video that I do with Brad Huskin. And find out more at JewelryStoreTraining.com or email me at jim@JewelryStoreTraining.com. Get your team trained. It's the best way to train. So, hey, Doug, welcome.
Hey, Jim. How you doing, man?
I'm wonderful. We had some slick roads getting up this morning here, up to Green Bay, up to the studio. But
and a long line at Starbucks.
And a long line at Starbucks. Yeah. But I've got my
coconut
venti
milk?
flat white made with coconut milk.
Coconut milk.
So,
all right, my guy.
If any of our listeners out there want to buy us gift cards from Starbucks,
we'll take them.
we will receive. Yeah. It's better to give than to receive, but we're happy to receive.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug, what we have at jewelrystoretraining.com, we have over 340, probably at the time you're listening to this, over 350 training sessions about things that we need to work on in the jewelry store, and also answering questions from jewelers and from our customers. In sometimes, I don't want to say intimate questions, but personal questions that it's really difficult to talk about with your staff. But it's easy to have someone else talk about it, like me or you. Yeah. So what's our question for the day? Do you got it?
Oops.
Do you have it?
I'm sorry. I'm getting
I think I
distracted
do.
because they're turning on some lights. Hey, I'm trying to do some filming, and I had the lights set.
Oh, you mean you're working at a real jewelry store? You're working at a real jewelry store? See, that's why this is real talk. I'm in a studio. I'm fake. You're real, okay? You can turn those lights on. I don't care. So Doug Meadows, folks, is a jewelry store owner down in Marietta, Georgia, and he's got David Douglas Diamonds, and runs that store with his son, Joseph, right?
Yeah, yep.
You didn't hear it. Did you hear anything I said?
I heard everything you said because I've got my Bluetooth ear in.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let's get down to some real talk.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can concentrate.
I didn't mean you'd get serious. I just meant for us to just get down to real talk.
Okay.
So our question for the day is, how do I get people to do what I want them to do or what I need them to do? And I think that ties in really well with, how do I get them to act like a store owner?
Right.
Think like a store owner.
Yep. And
I don't know that you want them thinking like a store owner, because then they might become a store owner.
Well, I've got a Chick-fil-A right across the street from me. And the owner-operator comes in
jealous.
all the time. I know it. It's great. And so Scott Reed, he's been a good friend of mine for many, many years. And we've been able to have a lot of synergy together on different projects and stuff. And he came in the other day, and we were just kind of chatting. And they were I was talking to him a little bit about hiring and the challenges of hiring right now in this market, because, it's just everybody's working. And he, commented on a few things, but then the subject kind of turned to, I hate this term millennials, but we throw it around a lot. We use that term a lot. And I think,
by the way, they hate it too.
Yeah. And I think it does a disservice to everyone. But, their generalization was, why do you always have to tell a millennial why? And he was like, the beauty of it is if you do tell them why, then you don't have, if when you're asking them to do something around the store and you tell them why they're doing it, then they get on board and they get all excited about it. So he gave me an example. He said, if my parking lot is really dirty, he said, I got a couple options. One, I can take the broom and the dustpan, and I can go hand it to one of the kids and say, hey, go clean up the parking lot. And then the kid's going to go, why am I doing that? Or I don't really want to do that. And because he feels like he just got the worst job anybody could have had for the day. And so if he instead goes up to the kid and says, here at Chick-fil-A, we really have a high reputation of cleanliness, of servanthood, of different things. And he says, our parking lot is a huge reflection on what goes on inside these stores. So if we've got trash floating around out in the parking lot, he said, then it makes the kitchen look bad, or, they're concerned about the food or whatever. And he said, so it's really important that our image of cleanliness is everywhere. And he said, it would really help me out if I could give you, this broom and stuff and have you go take care of that. So it gets the team on board, and they really feel a part of it. Now they understand why they're doing it and the importance of it. It's not just I'm going to clean the parking lot. Now it's, man, I get to be I get to do this today. I mean, I get to go
the bigger
out there,
picture.
to serve the people and make good food and be a part of all that. And it just was like, wow, that's really cool. I like that idea. And so we've been working on it too, of how to share our why. And there's a lot of different kinds of whys out there. I mean, that's the other big buzzword right now. What's your why?
What's your why? What's your why?
Yeah,
From my experience, I remember I would be in the jewelry store, and somebody would come back to me and say, "Hey, Jimmy, I don't know how to change the watch or the battery on this, on this curved face Maurice Lacroix watch.
Yeah.
I don't want to break I don't want to break it." And so there was two things that could have happened there. I could train them how to do it, or I could go do it, which basically, if I did it, meant I'm the watch battery guy forever and ever, right?
That's right.
You're not the watch battery guy there, are you?
Most of the days not, but occasionally I get caught having to do a battery.
Yeah. So my approach very quickly, was after hiring several jewelry store trainers, consultants. I started thinking, I've got to come up with a system, or I've got to get these people to do what I need them to do. Otherwise, I'm going to be working this job for the rest of my life, doing these types of things, working in the business rather than working on the business.
Correct.
And, I kept asking myself, what would I rather be doing? And the things that I would rather have been doing would be working more on the marketing aspect of things. I did want to set up a management program, but I didn't want to be that guy that every time he left the store, my cell phone was ringing because somebody didn't know how to, sell a 1 carat diamond, and they needed my permission or something.
Right.
And so a couple of things that really, really helped me to free me up. One of them was all of our trainers and consultants said, you need to set up these store absolutes, or these non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables, yeah.
Yeah. Or these things that we do every single time, every single customer, no matter what. And I like how Brad Huskin teaches it, because what he does is he uses what's called nominal group process. And long story short, that's just get everybody's idea and approach the group and say, okay, what do we need? Here's our goal. Here's our goal to have an amazing store, to give an amazing wow experience. Mm-hmm. What do we need to do that? And let's look at everything from the parking lot to how we size rings, how we give them their rings back after we clean and polish them, every single process. How do we show our diamonds? How do we display our diamonds? How do we talk about diamonds? How do we sell diamonds? And so one of the first things I think is non-negotiables. Set them up and have them set them up. I'm preaching to the choir here a little bit, but I will tell you, one perfect example, and I think it's a great example, is we needed an up system. Our business was doing, several $1 million, and a lot of people were coming through the door every day, and we were getting into fights about whose customer it was. So we needed an up system. And basically what I said, I remember this morning, it was a snowy winter morning, and I went to the staff during one of the meetings, and I said, hey, we need an up system. You guys plan it, you guys design it, you guys make the rules. Because I knew if I was going to make the rules, then I was going to have to babysit those rules,
Or police them.
So, well, I would rather be at Starbucks or talking to my buddy Doug than having to look out there every time, to babysit. Anyway, long story short is they came up with their own rules. Mm-hmm. They self-policed. They were self-accountable to each other. They yelled at each other. I didn't have to be that guy. I didn't want to be a bad guy.
Yeah, that's great.
So, folks, if you're thinking, or if you're being managed by your store rather than you managing it, or run by your store, or the other thing too is if you are working. I always looked at, for example, let's take watch batteries. What could I pay somebody to sit and do watch batteries all day? Well, I probably could find somebody for $9 or $10 an hour, right?
Yep. Okay.
And I'm the store manager, and I'm getting paid somewhere in the, well, let's just say it was higher than that, okay?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I'm thinking, why am I getting paid when I'm getting paid doing $9, $10 an hour work? And so, that may seem a little, well, you just have to think a little bit bigger when you're in that position. Yeah. So that's why this is Real Talk for jewelry store owners and managers.
Exactly. You got to learn how to teach them, and you got to learn how to empower them. And, you're talking about a lot of these different things. And I work with a business coach every couple of weeks, and he's a real advocate of having procedures and processes, mainly just a process. What is the process? And get it documented, get it teachable and trainable. And again, I mean, with everything, you do your best with it. You could always do better, but you right. Start somewhere. And one of the ways is just starting by making those documents to help know what you need to do. I mean, right. We got going. I started pulling my hair out in the mornings and at night with opening and closing procedures. And so then we decided, well, we're missing the process. And so we started to document it all down, and then, figuring out who's responsible for what. Right. And it just, once you get all that done, it just makes your life so much easier. And then, watch batteries, it's, just teaching them. Yeah, it's scary. And yeah, they, I definitely have had to pay for a few mistakes here and there. But you can't let that stop you from empowering them or letting them try. I mean, if we just put them in a bubble all their life, then, they're not going to do us any good. We're not doing them any good. No. You got to challenge.
Well, then what we might as well do is just fire everybody and just work the store ourselves.
Yeah, you might as well just be a sole proprietor, 100% sole proprietor. Do what you can. Right. Get a smaller spot. You don't need much space, and then just do it the way you want it done all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't think people that are tuning in and listening to this want that. Yeah. I think everybody that's listening to this series, they're hoping to improve a little something in their store, and that's what we're trying to help with. So.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is get a vision for what you want. What do you want to be doing 5 years from now, or what do you want to be doing a year from now, or let's look at accounting. Let's look at bookkeeping, for example.
Hey, wait a minute. I got to interrupt you for just a second. I was just watching the movie Intern the other night, and have you ever seen that movie?
De Niro?
Yeah. So I always like the interview where they're asking him, where do you see yourself in 10 years? He goes, when I'm 85. Anyways,
That
I'm
is
sorry.
awesome. Well, but the thing is, a lot of people, maybe it's passe, but I've never been a fan of where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
I always try to say, where do I see myself in 1 year or 6 months, or really answer the question, what do I want to do most in this business?
Yeah.
You know? And what do I want to do most in this business? And then maybe the other question is, how can I be most effective for my business?
Mm-hmm.
Am I most effective wiping cases down?
Right.
Or am I most effective going out and doing... Okay, so let's talk about... bookkeeping is a perfect example. I despise bookkeeping. I despise bookkeeping. I had to learn it so that I could know how to manage it, right?
Yeah, but Jimmy,
discipline
nobody can trust anybody but the owner to do that.
Well, okay. If you have that mode of thinking, then now you are a bookkeeper.
That's right. That's
right? Then you're a bookkeeper. So enjoy that rather than answer the question, what the heck do I want to be doing?
Well, on another note, the relationships that I'm jealous of are when a husband and wife can have a great team as store owners, which a lot of jewelry stores are. And, the wife is the one that does the books and is very good at it.
Right.
And so, they can have...
Or the opposite.
She's out there on the floor selling because she's a great salesperson.
Yep.
And he's the numbers guy, So, it could definitely be either direction. And that kind of a tag team or partnership is amazing. And, but that's a rarity. I mean, for most of us, we need to get a good bookkeeper in there. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, I literally, for probably 25 years of being in business, I don't know how I'm here today because I had terrible books. I mean, I didn't know if I was profitable or not. I just looked at the bank account and I had some money and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing okay, and
right.
I mean, I shouldn't be here today, and I don't know what got me here, but now, I love my numbers and I live by them. So.
But you've found somebody to do the stuff that you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you can pay them less than you're paying yourself to do that, but do it better, right?
Well, okay. So, one word of wisdom or advice that I got one time from a coach was to kind of list out my top 10 things I need to do today. And then he said, the way you prioritize that list is by profitability. Which item would you do that would bring you the most profit today if you spent time doing that one item? And
nice.
And so, working on it based off profitability instead of working off of it by, you know what, I don't want to do that one today. Let me go do this one or whatever. Right. And so we kid ourselves of, I'm busy, so I must be doing something right, instead of really looking at what is the effectiveness of what you're doing today. Right.
What's the long-term aspect?
Yeah.
And I could go into what I'm doing now, trying to fulfill my mission in life to be a jewelry store trainer. And but I'm not going to do that right now because that's a little self-serving. But you know what? I want to get into the next thing, which is, and what, by the way, still talking about how to get them to do what you want them to do or how to get them to think like an owner. Mm-hmm. I can't remember when the heck I read it, but it was Good to Great by James Collins, Jim Collins.
Right. It's a good book.
And in a nutshell, you remember the book, Doug, because I think you and I, we're talking about it at the same time, but it's get the right people on the right seats in the bus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, when we hire, or a lot of us can look at these personality tests and say, oh, this person's a perfect person, or what are the different types? Everybody's got a different test. But basically finding out people's motivations. I love the flag page. It's called theflagpage.com. The reason I love the flag page is because it's really simple to look at. But whenever I have my team or whenever I have teams where I do consulting, go into a store and people do their flag pages. It's like I said, it's called the flag page test. So when I say flag page from now on, that's what I'm referring to.
So do you know what that costs to do that?
I think it's $15 per thing.
Okay. Because
So,
I know you did
and that's
that.
the other thing I love about
Yeah,
it. It's the most affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you came and did that
But,
at our store, and that was very helpful.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's not a personality test. A lot of people think that's personality, and a lot of people judge and say, "Oh, I'm a fun country person," or "I'm a control country person," good or bad. It's not that. It's a motivation. What motivates us? What makes us tick? And whenever I do that, we always have so much fun doing that in the store, because they can hand me those tests, and I can say, this is probably your best salesperson. This person should be on the bench. This person should be doing your bookkeeping. This person should be doing scheduling. And if they're not, they probably stink at it, right? And then I'll go to that gal and I'll say, she's a high fun country or a high control country person. And I say, do you like doing the scheduling? No, I hate it. I want to get rid of it.
Now, Jimmy, you're using some terms that our listeners may not be accustomed to. Fun country.
All right.
And
let me back up. Let me back up a little bit. I don't have notes in front of me, so I'm not going to go into this in depth. But the flag page, basically, what it does is it goes way back to Socrates, and Socrates looked at our lives and said we are basically built up of these 4 different motivations. And he used the word melancholy and phlegmatic and choleric and sanguine. But the flag page turns it into 2019 words and says fun country, control country, peace country, and perfect country. Okay. Now, you take the test, and everybody is built out of a combination of these 4. And but what we do is we look at our primary motivations. Yours and my primary motivations, we're very much alike.
yes.
So we probably wouldn't get along very well in the jewelry store.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But you and I are high fun country persons, right?
Yep.
The funny thing is, I asked Doug to do this podcast, and he said, yeah, I want to do it. We didn't even know what we were going to talk about, but he just said, yeah, I want to do it right away. But that's a fun country person, and that's let's get it done. We'll apologize later and clean up the mess later, right?
That's right.
And then you have a high control country person, and those are great people to have. We need those because those are get it done, get her done kind of people, right? Yep. And then you have peace country people. We need those because those are the people in our organization that consider everybody else and consider what the ramifications of what we're doing, and they can be so important to customers. And then there's peace country or perfect country people, and those are fantastic accountants, bookkeepers, bench jewelers, focusing on the details, getting those prongs just right, pave setting. I mean, my goodness. I don't know how you do it. I just don't know where you come up with the patience to do all of that stuff on the bench. So anyway.
Well, the other thing
the
other thing I like about that flag thing that you do is it's very visual. I mean,
flag thing that you do.
But there's this really cool picture on there, and it's just great. I'm a visual kind of guy, and so to be able to see that picture, it's like, oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
When I look at other people in the store, it's like, oh yeah, that's them. And
right.
But it definitely helps you know what to ask them to help you with or help them do, or how to teach them in different things and what not to ask them to do,
Well, I'll give you an example of where I think this is something. And by the way, I'm not paid by Flag Page. This is, not an endorsement of that particular product. But really it is because I love it. I recommend you use it, and don't pay thousands of dollars for 25-page reports on people that you're not going to read or use. The Flag Page is 1 page, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Yeah. And it's $15, so stop wasting your money. Anyhow, I guess that's an endorsement. A quick story, Doug. I hate to monopolize this conversation, but where it's all about getting them to do what you want them to do, and that is, I'm going to use the word Sonia. Sonia in our jewelry store was a very fun country person. And what that meant is what she wanted to do is she wanted to engage with customers. She wanted to sell them jewelry. And if you stood in front of Sonia, you were probably going to buy something. I mean, there was a greater than 80% chance you were going to walk out with something today. Okay?
Yeah.
And she did it with love. She did it with just love. I mean, it was incredible. On the other hand, if you asked her to do a custom job, and you know where I'm going with this, if you asked them to do a custom job or a special order job or anything with any type of follow-up after that customer left the store, she would drop the ball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She would drop the ball. As a matter of fact, customers would call and they would say, hey, she said she was going to call me back. And we're like, okay. And we'd put them on hold. And we'd go through her drawer and there was jewelry in there. There was money in there. There was deposits in there. There was envelopes. And I was like,
but man, could she sell?
Could she sell? How do you fire the top seller in your organization? I mean, she was selling over $500,000 a year. Anyway, we ended up doing these flag page tests, and we went out for sushi one night. We took the whole store out for sushi, and we were reading these flag pages, and we all kind of, granted, we all like to say we hated her. We just hated her because the day she was off, we're dealing with all of the mess that she never dealt with. So anyway, whereas they're having sushi, we're reading off our flag pages. And then the beautiful thing is on the back of the flag page, it's what's great about this person. And we started reading these off and tears started flowing. And we all started realizing we got to stop judging each other. We have to stop hating each other and work with each other's strengths and primary motivations. So we said, all right, Sonia loves being in front of people. If anybody on the team, if you're ever having a hard time closing a customer, get Sonia in front of them, okay? And if Sonia's out there selling somebody a custom job, let's get Mary in there because Mary is amazing at details. She's our perfect country person, right?
Yeah, right.
She has the patience to sit and listen to a customer yap on about their golden retriever and their kid that just went to grade school and blah, blah, blah. Things that us fun control country people really don't care about.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we do is I use the term team selling because I know where I'm strong and I know where I'm weak. And if I'm working with somebody and I know it's going to need some of that detailed kind of stuff, I'm not that guy. And it's like, I'll call one of the sales associates over and basically what I've tried to do is teach them, if I'm asking you to come over with a pad, a paper, and a pen and start taking notes. And and then, when I'm all done.
That's awesome.
Yeah. When I'm all done, it's like, okay, write it all up. I'm going back to work.
Because you're not details guy. But, here's the thing. When we start talking each other's language, and by the way, this is what I'm going to be speaking about at the AGS Conclave I think it's in April.
Okay.
In Seattle. Speaking each other's language. I can't get somebody to do what I want them to do if I'm not speaking their language.
Right.
If you're a peace country person, okay, I think is your wife Mary a peace country person?
Oh yeah.
She's pretty peace, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's pretty peace, and my wife is peace perfect, and so pardon this shop talk, guys, but if I'm talking to them and I'm just like, get her done, and we're gonna have a blast doing this, that doesn't speak to them,
right?
It's got to be their motivation and why it's important to them. Back to the Chick-fil-A guy,
right?
So, really, the way we get people to do things is make them think it's their idea.
Yep.
Speak in their language, and they have to understand why.
Yep.
Right.
And if you can master that or begin to try and experiment with that, I mean, everybody's going to be so much happier. I mean, you're not going to be as frustrated anymore, and things will start getting done, and before you know it, you'll empower them. I mean, so one of the other crazy things, years ago, I read a book about a guy, and he went on vacation. He was the owner of the company. He went on vacation, and his vacation turned into a disaster, and he ended up being stranded in another country for like 3 weeks. And
Wow.
by the time he got back, he figured he would be coming back to a destroyed business because he wasn't there. And what really happened is once everybody knew the urgency of everything, they stepped up to the plate and they really
Right.
picked up the ball. And actually, it was running much better when he came back. And he was just amazed. And so then it was a lesson for him to just kind of step back and let the people that he's hired do what he's hired them to do instead of trying to do it all himself. And so, I mean, I see it every time I might take a vacation for a week or something like that. I'll come back and, I lost one more responsibility. I mean, it's great.
Amen.
So. But,
So, Doug, tell us briefly, and I think maybe we should wrap it up, but tell us about that experience that you had when you had your accident.
Well, it was about 3 years ago. We were getting ready for my son's wedding, and we had a John Deere tractor stuck in the mud, and in trying to get it out, it ended up doing a wheelie and going all the way over and crushed me. And so they took me to the hospital, had 8 broken ribs. And so I was out for a while. And then even when I came back, I couldn't do much for a while. And
Right.
But what was really cool is at the time I was the main bench guy for doing all my custom work. And this was in April. Back in January, I had hired a new girl that is just amazing. And she stepped up to the plate and literally replaced me at the bench. I mean, she now does all my custom work 10 times better than I've ever been able to do it. And it just blows me away, the beauty and the coolness that she's got. But,
Wow.
But yeah, it's just, it's nice to get replaced. And then, my son Joseph is continually coming up in the business and replacing me in a lot of the different things. And so it's great. I love it.
Yeah. Well, what a perfect. So let's add that too. By the way, if you want to get people to do what you want to do, have a tracker accident.
Yeah, or go on a long extended vacation.
Or go on a long extended vacation.
Maybe
The store probably will be running when you get back.
That's right. Take a nice mission trip to Fiji or something.
Let go. Let it go. Let it go. Well, hey, that was beautiful. That was a great talk, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me at jim@jewelrystoretraining.com. Any comments? Or Doug, how about you, Doug? Should we give him your email?
That's fine. Hopefully I'll find it and see it, but
Doug at daviddouglas.com. Is that it?
That's correct. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Beautiful. Well, okay. So that's how we get people to do what we want them to do, or to think like a store owner. We get them to think it's their idea. And of course, let it be their idea. You don't have to think it's their idea. Speak their language, and they got to know the why. So I love this kind of stuff because hopefully this helps people. I want people, and that's what I love about jewelry store training is people call me and they email me and they say, thank you for talking about that. We've had this problem and we didn't know how to deal with it. So Doug and I aren't experts. We are just guys that have been there, done that, and are sharing our experiences. And if you guys have other or even better ideas, just email us. We'll be glad to chat about it. And heck, we may even call you up.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the JimmyCast.
JimmyCast.